Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 36 of the Ripper Podcast.
Look, I'm not saying you should play college football till you're 28 years old, but it does make for an entertaining story and a good quarterback.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 53 of the Ripper Podcast. My name's Ethan Rosensteel. Thanks for joining us. Is it episode 53? Is that right? Let's get a quick... no, it's episode 54. I renamed it wrong. All right. It's episode 54. Veterans Day it's 54. How about that? Episode 54 of the Ripper Podcast. It's just me today, Ethan Rosensteel, joining you on this Hump Day edition of the podcast. Elson not able to make us today, but we're working on some really special, really cool things for the future of the podcast, something that every viewer obviously is going to be interested in, and we're super excited about it. Super excited to be able to get to a point where that's shareable and we can get that to you. But it's just me today. Going to present a pretty simplistic episode. It's quite literally going to be the three stages of football, high school, college, and the NFL. That's all I'm talking about today. So let's get right into it. One local team. The Cinderella story is continuing. It's Belleville, and they take on Elmira. This is going to be a good game. Belleville, good football team. They've gotten hot at the right time. We've kind of talked about it before in regards to Belleville really not supposed to be making it, and they just kind of squeaked right in. It's just how the seeding, how everything kind of fell this year, but here they are, sitting 7-6 now. They're taking on a Elmira team who's 10-2 on the season, a really good football team. This is a Elmira team that, in hindsight, probably they should beat Belleville, but how am I going to pick against the local team? I have to take the local team to make it. They made it so far, and it's actually round 4. I'm also realizing that right now. So not quite a good start for me today here on the pod. I need Elson to kind of keep me accountable, but it's supposed to be episode 54, not 53, and round 4, not 3. So what am I doing? I'm not sure, but Belleville, Elmira, this game is a neutral site, level 4, so it goes to a neutral site. They're playing in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, or as they call up here around Milwaukee, Ocon. So the story of this game, though, is going to be the battle of the running backs. Logan Dirk has been kind of the story for the Wildcats. He's got 1,027 yards, 12 touchdowns on the year, averaging 85.6 yards per game. But he's going up against a guy with the last name of Schaumburg, and I'm not sure if he's from Schaumburg or not, but he's got over 1,700 yards on the season, on the ground specifically, 25 touchdowns. He's averaging 142 yards a game right now. This is the Elmira team that gets the job done. They got a quarterback who, obviously, they're run heavy, not necessarily like run specialty, but they do throw the ball, and their quarterback keeps the ball in their hands. And at this level, that's pretty much the most important part, is to limit the turnovers. And Elmira has a good quarterback to do that. And Schaumburg's one of the most efficient runners in the country, having a phenomenal season. It's going to be a tough test for Belleville. Probably the toughest team, maybe aside from Cambridge, that they're going to be facing here in the playoffs. But a win here gets them to the Camp Randall, which is crazy to think that an 8 seed that probably shouldn't have made the playoffs is got an opportunity to get to Camp Randall. So kudos to the Wildcats of Belleville. They got a big game against Elmira. Hindsight, Elmira probably should win this game on paper, but it's hard to not take the hot hand, not take the local team. We're going to take Belleville in this one. Record's been good. We've taken Belleville through, I think, except probably round 1, and here we are. So that's your round 4 preview. We'll be potentially talking next week about a Camp Randall State Championship preview. Who knows? College football week. What week is it? It's week 11 or week 12? I believe it's week 12 of college football. A little preview. I do want to just talk about a little bit of my top 25. No graphic again this week for it. But let's just kind of talk about it and talk about some of the discrepancies between mine and between the AP or even the college football playoff poll. Oregon, obviously at the top. 2 through 5 is kind of where it gets a little controversial. You got Ohio State, Penn State. I have Notre Dame there at 4. And then Indiana at 5. That's something that me and the college football and AP polls all share in common. Ohio State and Penn State being there as well. Also, Texas is the other team that those polls have up there in the top 5. BYU is a team, they're undefeated, sitting there at 6 for me. We still really don't know what we have with them. Good football team, obviously. There's something to be a credit for being undefeated, but it's a Big 12 schedule. Good teams, but there's not the SEC or the Big 10. So take that for what you want. Texas, I think at 7's fair. They got SMU, Tennessee, Alabama. This SEC kind of circle is super intriguing. Something that it seems like everyone wins against somebody, but I've also has a loss against somebody, and we've seen that all season long here in the SEC conference. But Miami, with their loss to Georgia Tech this week, they fall down. I have them on 11. I think the college football playoff had them at 9, so still staying in the top 10. Boise State, a non-Power 5 team. They're currently the 12 seed in the playoff. They're my 12th best team in the country currently, but that's a team where I'd be interested to see if maybe they improve their seed being so good. Washington State making the jump up. Army, an undefeated team, hasn't played much of competition. Ole Miss, a big win over Georgia. They jump up. Texas A&M up a little bit. They rebounded nicely. Kansas State, Georgia obviously losing to Ole Miss. They fall down all the way to 18 for me. Missouri had a nice win. And then Colorado, I have them at 20. I think college football playoff has them at 17. This is a team that they kind of have the clearest road to the Big Ten championship, which obviously ensures a college football playoff spot. This is a team in the Big 12, I don't think they have to play Iowa State, obviously ranked higher than Iowa State. I don't think they have to play BYU. Out of kind of some of the other teams that they're competing with, their schedule is the most favorable. And for Colorado, I think it's in good shape for them to potentially see themselves rising. And as Shedeur Sanders, how important this is going to be a crucial last 3 games for the Shedeur. If he can find a way to get his team into a college football playoff situation, watch out, because this is an opportunity where Shedeur is not only obviously being successful in college, but he's being successful in rising his draft stock. So that's something we want to watch out a little bit. Iowa State, Pittsburgh, and Navy falling down the ranks a little bit. Memphis, 7-1 Memphis team. They're not ranked. They're going to be jumping in at 24 for me. And LSU, the only 3-loss team, still hanging on for dear life at 25. That's what I got. That's my top 25. This is, I told Elson, I think this is one of my best renditions of the top 25. Usually there's major differences between mine and the AP or the college football. And just because I think I look at it a little bit differently than what some of these more professional crews, I guess, or whatever the media or even the selection committee is, what they look at. But it's pretty similar to what they have, but in addition, I also do think that it's the best one that I have. So there you go. Let's get into some big games coming up here this Saturday. I'm going to kind of give a little bit more of a brief overview of more games compared to the in-depth analysis that we do with Elson on the show. Virginia taking on my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Virginia is a team 5-4. I believe they just beat Clemson. Notre Dame, a team currently in the college football playoff. Both the AP and college football playoff do not have them ranked as high as I believe they should be. But they got a Virginia team. It's going to be a test, potential trap game. I think there's quite a few games that are potential trap games. And this is a situation where Notre Dame's got to get the job done. It's just one of those, small pieces of adversity that really can turn out to be detrimental to your season. It could tank a season. A 2-loss Notre Dame team, I'm not sure how credible that is. Obviously, they do have some credible wins so far this year. Some wins that, preseason, obviously coming into the preseason, everyone said they have an easy schedule. But if it wasn't for their loss to Northern Illinois, Notre Dame would easily be a top 3 team in this country right now. And I think that they've proven that was a fluke. Obviously, winning 6 straight games since then, 7 straight games actually since then. Notre Dame's a good football team. I think they still are not getting the respect that they deserve. Oregon, undefeated, number one team in the country. Oregon coming in to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Prime time. We've seen this before. Penn State comes to mind as a prime time top ranked team coming into Camp Randall. Alabama came into Camp Randall. There's always optimism, it seems like, when a team comes in. But this is kind of the first time. Like I said, we've seen this before, and it didn't go Wisconsin's way. This is going to be the best team that Wisconsin faces all season long. Oregon is really, really good offensively, defensively. They do everything very, very well. I think Wisconsin really does not stand a chance in this game. I think Oregon comes in and dominates, but who knows? Who knows what happens? This is current day college football. We'll see where it goes. Utah, Colorado. This is 100% a trap game. Utah's a team, they're supposed to have Cam Rising, this really good football team. He gets hurt with kind of a crappy injury, one that he didn't deserve. And Utah's season kind of just does not pan out the way they wanted it to. Colorado had a good opportunity, but Utah still got good weapons. They're still a good football team. Colorado's in a situation where there's potential that, like we talked about a little bit earlier, that they could potentially find themselves in that 12-team playoff. But Utah's the team that they got to kind of take down here. They came off a good win against Texas Tech, but this is going to be an interesting game of what they can do with Utah. They should beat Utah, but can they? That's going to be the question. And there's definitely a fine line between should and can. And so I'm going to be intrigued to try and find out where this one goes. Clemson and Pitt, two teams that have kind of fallen in the top 25 rankings. Both two lost teams in the ACC. Clemson team that you could say is underwhelming, but a Pitt team that's overwhelming. I think they're doing better than what their expectations were coming into this season. This is a game you probably will look at on paper, and Pitt has some quarterback issues that Elson talked about last week, but this is a game Clemson probably should win. But will they? I don't know. I've not been high on Clemson all season long. They're up into the top 10 on the AP poll, which I think is absurd. They're not that good of a team. I don't think Cade Klubnik's that good. He puts up good numbers against bad teams. We've seen that before. But a Pitt team that is, I think, well coached. A team, obviously, a struggling quarterback situation, but this is going to be an interesting game. It's hard to kind of point which way it's going to go. It should go Clemson's way, but we'll see. Be a big game for Clemson. They really have not got a quality win against anybody yet, so it'll be a good one. Underrated game. Tulane, a team that's ranked, I believe, in the AP poll, maybe the college football poll, but taking on Navy. So two lost teams. Tulane 8 wins, Navy 7 wins. A Navy team who kind of took the country by storm. Was really getting up there in the ranks, rising dramatically each and every week. Lost a couple. Started with the Notre Dame game, lost last week. Tulane team who cracks into the top 25. This could be a fun, interesting game. A couple teams, we don't know maybe their ceiling. For sure, Tulane, we're not 100% sure what we know in them. They're new to the scheme, new to the top 25 coverage, the national recognition that comes with that. This could be a fun game to watch. There's just, some of these games, Clemson, Pitt, Tulane, Navy, some of these games are just almost under the weather a little bit. They're not the big name games, but a couple good teams that are exceeding expectations could be fun to watch. 7-2 Alabama, non-conference game against Mercer. And normally when you see that, it's like, okay, blowout for Alabama, right? Well, Mercer's 9-1 coming into this game, and Alabama probably will still blow them out, but it's hard to look past a 9-1 record. Obviously, Mercer is not going to play anybody that Alabama's playing, and Alabama probably should blow this team out. But so I've talked about this all year long, is how important it is coming off of a tough matchup the week before, where a bye week's almost more beneficial following a big time game compared to leading up to a big time game. Alabama had that last week with LSU on the road, Death Valley, crappy conditions. Jalen Milroe lit up the scoreboard. Obviously, was the highlight of that game. This could be scary for Kalen DeBoer's squad. I don't know. I'm gonna probably take Alabama. I'm gonna take that they're gonna blow them out. I'm not sure what the exact spread is. I'm sure it's probably plus more than 20 points. At least it should be. This is potential for upset alert here from Mercer. This is a good opportunity. We'll see where this goes. Boston College, SMU. Boston College is a team that's kind of played spoiler all season long, a team that was ranked in the top 25, in the early weeks of the season after their win against Florida State when they were still somewhat credible. They take on an SMU team who's came out of nowhere. 8-1 record so far, looking good, trying their first team out, first team in. I'm not 100% sure. But right on that bubble of the college football playoff trap game. Again, I mean, there's so many of these all across the board. I think SMU probably should get the job done again, but this could be a season tanking game for a potential playoff elimination game. And that's kind of how we classify games now in college football is this is an elimination game. The team that loses this game is probably going to not make the playoffs and could be interesting to see. Arizona State, Kansas State, a Big 12 game, both 7-2. Kansas State ranked, Arizona State not. Arizona State potentially ranked if they get a win here against KSU, a KSU team that's pretty good. Probably has the edge and probably should get the job done. Anything can happen in these games. A KSU team that, playoff implications, who knows? Probably if they win out, they probably don't make the playoffs. But if things can change, things happen, who knows where this can go. Big one in the SEC, probably the game of the week. Tennessee taking on Georgia. Georgia coming off that loss against Ole Miss, and it doesn't get any easier this week against Tennessee. Tennessee finds themselves hosting a playoff game currently against Notre Dame, I think it is. Talk about an elimination game. Georgia loses this game, they're out. No doubt about it. Tennessee loses this game. I think that there's still hope. There's still opportunity. I think it's a 2-loss team. You're probably still in. You're going to find yourself with Georgia over you. And I forget who they lost to already, but this is the SEC right now. And, when you look at that college football, the rankings that just came out last night, the Big Ten's dominating the college football playoff right now. But SEC, it's going to be that competition. That's the new age of college football is the competition between the Big Ten and the SEC. And what we are going to see in this, I don't know, but this is a big game. One of those elimination games that really has big time implications on it, and we'll see where it goes. Probably the game of the week though. Prime time on ESPN, like every the biggest SEC game is every week, but that's a big game this week, no doubt about it. Couple unranked matchup. Nebraska 5-4, a team that was bouncing around in the 20s in the top 25 ranking, and the USC team that's just really underwhelming right now. Nebraska and USC, a couple very storied franchises, or I should say schools. USC 4-5. Crazy. Who would imagine that, especially after beating Clemson early in the year, week 1. Nebraska's a good football team. I think they have to go to California in this game. This is, in the grand scheme of things, really has no implications on anything drastic. Not really a big deal, but for both of these schools and looking forward, Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, good bright future. Matt Rule's really turned that program around. For USC, they still got Miller Moss. Is Lincoln Riley's career maybe on the line? A lot of controversy down there. USC, a team that's definitely got a better roster and better aura around their program than a 4-5 team here at this point in the season. There's implications on this game that aren't necessarily nationally recognized. It'd be kind of a fun storyline to keep an eye on. Missouri, South Carolina. South Carolina coming off a nice win last week. Missouri, the same thing. South Carolina, a team that I think is now ranked in most top 25s. Missouri's been a team. Elson just does not like them at all. I don't think either of these teams have a chance to make college football playoff. Obviously, things happen. Certain things are potentially altering. Missouri's a 2-loss team, could still make it. I think there's potential that they still find themselves as a bubble team, I really don't know. That's a tough one. South Carolina, 3 losses. You can pretty much rule them out. They're a team, a good football team, but they're probably just going to try and play spoiler going on through the rest of the year. This could be a fun one to watch, and definitely excited to see that game as well. Last one, a Big 12 game. Cincinnati sitting at 5-4, taking on Iowa State, a team that has lost 2 straight games. Iowa State, the Cyclones have a team that's really fallen off. A team that was in the top 5 for me at one point. A team that looked like they were going to kind of cruise to a Big 12 championship, first round bye in the playoffs. Good luck. They had a good look. We'll see where they can go from here. Cincinnati is the next team that they have to take on and going forward with that. So that's the kind of a high level overview of all of this week's college football top 25 games. Let's keep it moving to a little fantasy football. How about that? Some rankings here. For the fantasy football league, I gotta say, man, I really think I have the best team in the league. I really do. My team just playing lights out right now. Clinched a playoff spot. Me and Chase both clinched playoff spots. Battling. Excuse me. Battling for the number 1 seed in the North Division. Both 2 loss. Obviously, good competition, good competing there. When you look at it, though, what's different about our league compared to most fantasy football leagues is winning your division is really important. It's how you get your first round bye. The divisional winner gets a first round bye, and then there's wild card spots throughout for a plan. When you look at it, the South Division, Aaron, a game up. I wouldn't rule out. You could potentially rule out Marcus's team. I wouldn't, we're 4 weeks left in the season, I believe. And so I think I think Keegan, his likely, I mean, he would have to, Keegan and Tucker, honestly, they would, they both have 1% chances to make the playoffs. Situation where obviously their only hope is to make a wild card situation. They're not going to win a division. But I would think it's fair to rule them both out in that situation. This East is a fun division though. 3, 5, and 5 teams. That's anybody's game. All teams probably going to end up making the playoffs in the current format. West Division, a couple 6 and 4 teams. I think that's pretty much the battle between Elson's team and Caden's team. A situation where they're just trying to battling for that number 1 spot. If you don't get it, you're still making the playoffs. Other than that, I think Marcus's and Keegan's and Tucker's team probably might be the 3 teams ruled out. 4 teams don't make the playoff. Looking at it right now, I think it's obvious to say right now is actually a higher chance of Lucas's team making the playoffs than Ryan's team, both 4 and 6. 20% higher chance for Lucas to make the playoffs over Ryan. I'm not sure why that is, but it is. ESPN has something behind that. But it'll be fun to continue watching. We're getting to the point of the season though where we're slowly at every week someone is either eliminated, someone either clinches, something changes that we're able to kind of look at, and it's always something fun to be able to see where it goes, no doubt about it. That's a little fantasy football update. Let's get some NFL, and then we're out of here. Keeping it short, keeping it sweet, keeping it moving. Good NFL slate in this one. Let's start Thursday Night Football. Commanders Eagles, big NFC East game. Kind of a battle for the divisional winner. This is a game I really hope the Commanders win. I'm not an Eagles fan at all. In Philadelphia, though, this is, it's got big expectations after the Thursday Night Football game that we just watched between the Bengals and the Ravens. That was a potential game of the year. Commanders Eagles, though, we'll see. I think big divisional game. Thursday Night Football has been getting a couple good ones, no doubt about it. But this is a fun one. I'm excited to watch. If I make my picks, I'm going to say Commanders because that's who I hope is going to win. By the way, not doing Sunday picks. Obviously, I would need Elson here. Elson had a massive week last week. I think if I was positive, I was only positive by a few, but Elson, massive week. He had a massive week. I think he was perfect on his picks, so he got the job done, no doubt about it. Ravens Steelers, the Steelers team. Russell Wilson won their game against the Commanders off of a hard count, which is the most Russell Wilson thing to do. Taking on a Ravens team that seems like they might be, other than the Chiefs, the best team in the AFC. Steelers, the other team, might be right there with them. This is a massive game. I'm gonna go Ravens. As much as I think the Steelers, there's something different about the Steelers. Elson and I have been saying that all year long. There's something different about the Steelers team. I think it'd be awesome to see a little playoff success with Russell Wilson in the Steel City. But I think this is a Ravens team that's better, more equipped with stars, and better suited for the postseason. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens on that one. Big rivalry game, Bears-Packers. I think Bears just fired their offensive coordinator. I think it's a good move. I think it's going to take a week or two to kind of get resituated, get acclimated. This is a Packers team I think gets the job done. I believe coming off the bye week, Jordan Love's healthy. Going to be playing. I think this is a game the Packers get the job done. And Falcons-Broncos, a Broncos team that got robbed. They should have won against the undefeated Chiefs last week. A pretty good Broncos team, actually. A Falcons team that seems like they should be better than their record. It seems like they're almost shooting themselves in the foot. This is a tough game to pick. I think I'm going to give the edge to the Broncos just because they're at home. I think it's a tough environment, not specifically because of the crowd, but the elevation in Denver is tough to adjust to. And for a team like the Falcons, who knows what we can get out of them. Seahawks 49ers divisional game. 49ers coming off of a walk-off field goal win over the Bucks. This is a fun one. I think a Seahawks team who's kind of really slid. They've just really struggled the last couple of games, and I'm going to go 49ers in this game. I think they're starting to get hot, hit their stride. McCaffrey's back. A team that I would be a little nervous about. Chiefs Bills. Seems like every time these two teams meet up, maybe for the first time, it's got the game of the year hype around it. This is going to be a fun game to watch, Chiefs and Bills. Chiefs obviously undefeated. A Bills team who's playing at home, trying to play a little spoiler. The Bills are actually favored in this game. What's crazy to think is that the Bills, this is just a really tough game. Buffalo is a tough place to play. Obviously, weather's starting to change, but it's not December. It's not January. It's not that type of environment where they're having to hire people to get snow off the field. But this is a Chiefs team that's undefeated. And every time you bet against these Chiefs, they prove to you why you shouldn't do that. And so it's hard to not to. Until the Chiefs lose, I think I'm going to take the Chiefs every week. Especially, in the situation like our Sunday pick scheme is, with the Chiefs being underdogs, thank you very much. I'm going to take my points and run. I'm going to go Chiefs in this one. Sunday Night Football, Bengals, Chargers. This is an interesting game. A Chargers team maybe better or has a better record than maybe the skill of that squad. Bengals team that has a better squad than their record. A tale of two stories. A game in LA. I want to take the Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals. I think they get a nice quality win here. A team still trying to fight to make a playoff spot. Bengals team, though, I think it seems like it's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on a bad football team, and they got no help, and they're going to put up as many points as possible and hope that the defense maybe gets a stop or two. But I think this is a good Chargers team that they're going against. Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh. They're firing all cylinders. I think this is a fun one. But I'm going to take the Bengals for the heck of it. I want to see them win. I think I'm going to do that. Monday Night Football, a Texas special. Texans and Cowboys. Houston versus Dallas. Cowboys, well, I think we understand with what we got last week. I think that says enough. Cooper Rush isn't good. Trey Lance is worse. CeeDee Lamb needs sunglasses. There's a lot of bad things happening in Dallas. Team probably, I don't know if we'll win a game the rest of the year. I'm going to take the Texans. I think the Texans get the job done. I'd love to see the Cowboys win, but at this point, it's a tank for Travis Hunter situation, and I'm here for it. Drafting Green Bay, how about that? Let's tank and get this team right. I think that's the move. But Texans a good football team. I think Nico Collins probably will be back. He was questionable last week. I would assume he's back. Joe Mixon's having a great year this year. He's probably going to run all over the Cowboy defense. Having Nico Collins back is massive for the Texans. CJ Stroud just kind of looked lost without him. Looked like he wasn't getting much help. I think it's just a confidence thing, good moral thing, getting your best receiver back. Obviously, Stephon Diggs done for the year, but I think this is a good Texas team. This would be a nice win, improve to 7-4, and continue to fight for a playoff situation in the AFC. That's the weekly preview here in the NFL. Nice little half an hour episode. Is quite literally half the time that we normally have an episode for, but short and sweet. Also, we'll be back Monday, and we'll be able to kind of continue to keep on rolling. Thanksgiving almost here. Crazy to think where this year went. It's crazy to think it. I'm Ethan Rosensteel. This is the Ripper Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. You all have a fantastic weekend. Good luck to your teams. Massive game for the Badgers. Big Sunday for the Packers. Rivalry game. Good day. Good weekend in local sports. No doubt about it. I'm Ethan Rosensteel. This is the Ripper Podcast, episode 54. Thanks for joining us.